Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com from Kevin in Lambeg, Ireland. I was recently watching a review on the Wrestling Bios YouTube channel of the WWF pay-per-view In Your House Revenge of the Taker, which took place in April, I assume he means 1997, not 2017.
Okay.
During the review, it was mentioned that Vince McMahon announced there were rumors that Ken Shamrock was going to challenge Mike Tyson on Raw the following night. Obviously, this didn't happen, and it would be nearly a year before Tyson would show up on WWF television. So my question for Jim is, were you aware of any kind of angle that was supposed to take place between Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson around this time, or was this just a throwaway line that Vince said to make Shamrock sound tough?
Okay, well, no, he wouldn't have thrown that line away. And help me if you can, but obviously they didn't just call Mike Tyson up one day in early 1998 and say, hey, you want to referee at WrestleMania? Okay, sure, and it's all done. That's back when, I know they do it that way 20 years later with AEW, but Mike Tyson was the biggest sports star on the planet at that point, or very close to, and they had been having talks for quite some time. And I can't remember the timeline. I can't remember back and forth, so I'm not going to tell the story correctly, but there had been a variety of ideas bandied around as how he might fit, because the first thing that you would think, he ended up being the referee, in case anybody's too young, doesn't remember, for Austin and Michaels at WrestleMania 98. And the way that they brought him in was supposedly he was going to be on DX's side, but then at the climactic moment, he revealed that he was really, an Austin 316 kind of guy, blah, blah, blah. But that's what busted everything open, really got Austin over. But the first thing that you would think of to do with Mike Tyson in a wrestling company is not make him a referee. And when talks first started, I don't know that they even knew or even imagined that it was going to be Austin and Michaels at WrestleMania 98. Obviously, Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson would be a thing that you would think of just in a perfect world where you had control over everybody and everything they did. Well, how could we get the world's baddest boxer and the toughest guy we got for a shoot in the ring together? That would be a thing you'd think of. But then either talks went south, or somebody just realized, well, Vince, which one you think's going to do the job? Because Shamrock, remember at this time, was not finished with his MMA career and would go back, would he not, to high-level MMA for a couple of years after that. I'm trying to remember his career in my mind now chronologically, but point is, same thing as we've talked about how, Joe Louis and the wrestling champion never worked, or Jim Londos and the boxing champion, or whatever the case may be, because who's going to do the job? So I can believe there was something going on there, and I remember that they had talks, but I can't chronologically tell the story from contemporaneous notes. And I truthfully didn't think they were going to get Tyson until they got Tyson anyway.
I was going to say, and I may be remembering wrong, I haven't looked into this in a while, was WCW trying to get Tyson when Vince got him?
Yeah, there was talk about that also. Yeah, I remember definitely the risk or the thought that WCW was going after him also.
Well, Jim, I know if WCW contacted you, one of the first things you would do is contact an attorney.
That's right. I certainly would, because you never know what conniving people with bad intent and snot running down their noses will put into a contract. And that's why before you sign anything, before you agree to anything, before you tell your wife you're going to take the garbage out tonight, you better call this man.
Call Stephen P. News. If you need to sue. show or two. Still to the rest.
Yes, folks, and as we say every week, every show, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084 is the man you need to call if you have any issues, problems, or have been damaged or harmed or infringed upon in any way. But now, Brian, I'll have you know that Stephen P. New is involving himself in another area of the law. He's studying some things. He sent me an article to read up on. Unfortunately, I would have to subscribe to the thing to read the article, but I got a part of it. But we've talked about this. Brian, do you know that you and me and innocent people all around the country are being victimized by the fine print? We're being victimized. Sometimes we're signing contracts or entering into arrangements or agreements that we don't even know about because of the loopholes of these terms of service agreements and arbitration clauses. You might say, like one of these independent contractors that are signing up to these big wrestling corporations. Well, they've got arbitration clauses in contracts, and they've got arbitration clauses in a lot of other deals that you make in your daily life. And those arbitration clauses may say, if we don't fulfill our part of the bargain, you have the right to take us to court, but it'll have to take place in Yugoslavia, because that's the arbitration clause. Or the terms of service that you agree to every day. There's all kinds of fine print in there. For example, if you click on, Brian, just something on the internet, the random agree to the terms of service, did you know that people can come to your house with a panel van and take your children away?
I don't think that's accurate, actually.
Well, it soon will be.
No.
Now that I've given people the idea. But before you have your children kidnapped or in other way are offended or damaged by these strange agreements and the fine print and some of these contracts and agreements that you make with these big corporations, if you're in trouble because of that, Stephen P. New is the man for you, and he's investigating these things, and he's going to keep an eye out for these damaging clauses. So keep an eye out for more news on that in the future as Stephen P. New brings some of these reprehensible heels to justice. newlawoffice.com, 888-692-8084.